Nice.
Boom, boom.
Or hot.
I said boom, boom, boom.
Wasn't that a song we just listened to?
Yeah, my heart goes boom, 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 boom. Well, hello, everybody out there. Getting ready for another live video. He's just getting our widescreen, our portrait shot set up for our other camera.
Like POV minus the window.
Yeah. We're getting all the cameras set up. We're going to have an interesting topic.
Interesting.
I have a feeling it's going to be hot. It's going to be on fire.
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 I spit fire. My name is Dylon. The hottest rappers ever in the business. Dylon. I spit hot fire.
Hot
fire.
Hot fire. All right, if you want to go ahead and lean into the introduction, you can
We can definitely do that. Hey, Podcast Nation, thank you for joining us again on this beautiful Saturday afternoon, early evening. I hope you're having a great weekend. It's time for us to have another little live stream for about 25 minutes or so. We're going to hang out with you. I've got my parents in town from Indiana. They're going to be swinging by to pick me up, and I'm going to hang out with them. But
Indiana.
I thought I'd spend some time with my fans and my peeps for a little bit before I end up taking off, since I won't be able to be back here till Tuesday night, which is going to be fun. Tuesday night, I'm going to be here, and my parents are going to sit here and watch me do a podcast and see how it all works. That'll be fun. So anyway, our topic today that we're going to be dealing with in this one is about education and about healthcare. JR likes to look at it as the education and healthcare manipulation. I look at it as just, education, healthcare issues, concerns, but definitely there's some manipulation that goes on with that. Isn't that correct, JR?
Yeah, the reason I like to use the word manipulation is because of the fact that a lot of what I do at We're in Media and what we are doing and what we're aiming to do is about bringing freely value to others. And I think a lot of the conversation around the healthcare and the education system is aimed at just that. It's about how I want to bring dialogue and awareness to why aren't the people with the most money who collected $3.33 trillion in taxes giving more freely to our people? And I think they're doing some great things during COVID and helping with unemployment, but ultimately I just think the more light we can bring to the fact that giving people that want education or giving people more educational value or insight shouldn't be something I'm trying to charge for. And I think that it should be a big topic of conversation moving forward, is that we shouldn't be making money off people's ill health and people's desire to better equip themselves to be educated, or better equip themselves to have a job that provides for their family, or have an education that gives them a platform or ability to make more money and provide for their family or be a better citizen of their nation. So I think it's a really crucial topic to start shedding a light on and bringing awareness to, and that's what we do at We Are Media, is we're about bringing more free value to you intangibly to our people. So we want to bring you intellectual insight and value freely. And I think that's a big topic for conversation, exactly why our government charges so much for education and why education is so expensive in some areas and why it's not more freely given. When if you think about information, Del, information is available freely. You
Correct.
can Google or YouTube almost anything now in the modern day. We're blessed because of it, and you can almost have anything available at your fingertips to gain the information.
Correct. Now, I've got a few issues with both healthcare, both with that and education. And I'm going to send it back to you for a second after this and what your thoughts are, and then what you think are the major concerns and issues that you feel, that stick out the most for you. But for me, I am a little concerned when a country like Cuba, first off, has better healthcare than us. We're really down on the list when it comes to our grade of healthcare. It sounds like it shouldn't be that way, but when it comes to costs, I'll give an example. My mom is diabetic, okay? and she has to have insulin. It is, or used to. I don't know if she does anymore. I don't think she does. She's lost a lot of weight, which good for her. But so I think here it's quite expensive compared to down in Cuba where you can get it for like $5 down there. Why do you think people are going to Mexico to get a lot of their meds filled?
We have some of the most expensive medication prices in the world.
Why are people ordering them from Canada and across seas and over the internet for stuff that's obviously non-narcotic, just normal medications, and bringing them in even though they're not registered by the FDA and taking them because they're cheaper, regardless of whether or not they're as good as the ones here in the country or regulations on them? They're still taking the risk because they can't afford the medications otherwise. I'll give an example to that. My medications I take for my mental health and everything like that, I would pay about $250 a month. My health partners pays for all of it. The biggest one is I'm on Vivitrol. Vivitrol is a shot I get monthly, and it helps with my cravings for alcohol, and it is a blocker. So if I try to drink while I'm on that shot, I
get sick.
I don't get sick. I
No?
just don't, I get no feeling at all.
Yeah. So you don't feel the
I don't
effects.
get any effect from it at all.
It's kind of like the Suboxone
Right.
alcohol.
It's ridiculous.
That's cool.
It makes it in my mind go, I don't need it. Well, guess what? If I did not have insurance, it's $1,800 a shot.
That's sick. That's so. Yeah, it's pretty sick. When you start to think about it.
$1,800 a shot, so I have a better chance to not drink.
Wow, that's an incredible amount of money.
So you think about it, that's literally, it's like 24,000 and something per year, and that is, or around there, 23,000, something like that. There's people that don't even make that in a year of salary.
So I think you're leading into great points. Like, why is America, a place that's so advanced in so many areas, lacking in progressive change with education and healthcare? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me at all. It does, but it doesn't. Like, I understand it's because of the money. And, like, the other thing that correlates to this, Del, is the level at which we are not currently prepared for a pandemic. We are one of the areas that we're most vulnerable as a nation is if a pandemic comes. Mm-hmm. Now imagine if a pandemic comes that doesn't have 1% death rate, but it has a 50 or 60 or 70. We don't have the beds. Why don't we have the beds? We're one of the most advanced nations. The reason is the hospitals and the infrastructure for healthcare isn't there is because it's built for profit. Otherwise, they would be able to provide all these services and have more beds but the reason they don't have more beds and more space and more equipment is because they're looking at ways to minimize their expenses so that they can maximize their profit.
Correct.
And I think it's really, really interesting times that are shining light on it because, look, everyone's like, oh, we have to worry about the healthcare system overload. Mm-hmm. Well, how the fuck don't we have enough beds prepared for a fucking pandemic, which is proven through history? They come and they come around. Pandemics every so often come.
And I know you get tired of hearing about it coming over from Europe and what they're saying over there, but it is true that they are more prepared in a lot of ways to be able to deal with stuff that we can't. Now, some of that has to deal with
our size.
Well, that, and they also deal with universal health care a lot more over there. Like in Canada, France, England, those areas are set up under universal health care, which gets into taxes and everything like that a lot of people in this country are not willing to support or do any of that. Some of them even go to the extent of saying it's socialist to think that way, to do that. But it is funny to me how our ranking is so low in a country that it shouldn't be that way. And that goes for education as well. Our education over the last 20 to 30 years, our test scores are going down considerably every year to where we are now, we used to be looked at as the shining light in the world. We are definitely not doing that right now. Why is that, I ask? And some of it is funding. You look at teachers. Teachers don't make enough money for what they do.
Yeah, you were talking about how LADC is underpaid. Two of the most underpaid professions in the world are, especially in America, are LADC and teachers.
Well, and the teacher thing is it seems like the classrooms are getting bigger and bigger every year. I mean, it used to be they'd have like 20 kids, and now it's 30 to 40 kids that they got to educate, have relationships with, be able to make sure they're getting their homework done and grade those papers. All of this for a very minimal salary, and then you expect the teachers to go above and beyond to give more education or more time to these students when they've got families of their own at home. You're asking a lot from an individual in that situation to do that. They're not going to be like a doctor in a residency. They're at the school 24 hours a day. And they're sure hell not getting paid like a doctor at the residency.
Yeah, I agree. So it's really interesting points, especially when you start to correlate all this to COVID, because ultimately we were talking earlier about how growth and change comes from discomfort, and COVID is incredibly discomfortable. It's uncomfortable for a lot of people. So it's pushing things to have to change and evolve. It's pushing things more digital. It's pushing things to grow and evolve and change. So one of the things that's going to have to change through it all is healthcare and education. If you think about it, they're going to have to start educating people with more Zoom or whatever. You see a lot of it happening already where the Zoom meetings are becoming more common. Schools are going to be more online digital presence. And I think it's interesting how things like this push that change. And if we don't start to audit our healthcare system for preparing for pandemics and start to audit why we weren't prepared and why we're not operating in a more united fashion, like, it's really a huge, huge topic to start auditing, because look at, we're all the states, we're implementing different laws and legislation, and then in the end, the discord and disconnect and not operating in a systematic fashion has caused us to have to, now we're right back where we were. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's really interesting, Del, to talk about all this and correlate it back to what we talk about all the time with growing and evolving and being in uncomfortable situations,
right,
and conditioning ourselves. But the problem, I think, with all this is the fact that it comes back to money, and it comes back to rigid bureaucracy and law and legislation. So I think one of the biggest obstacles to what we all talk about in success and change is just that. It's our democracy. Because it's a democracy of dollars. It's not a democracy of investing in our human capital.
Right, I agree. Again, it's going to come down to the idea of people coming together who are on different sides, that have different opinions about things, coming together to make a decision on how this money and how money should be directed and spent when it comes to the budgets. And it seems like that always gets in the way. Again, that ruthless, evil money always gets in the way of the good that can happen and the things that can change.
Which is interesting.
Yeah.
Money, something we print and give value to.
And it's something that and every time we print it, our money becomes less and less valuable. But the thing is it's something that we do have to have. You can't live without money, regardless of what anybody else tells you. But if money is our driving force in our lives to feel successful, to feel valued, validated, to feel value and purpose in life is by the money that you have in your bank account, there's something wrong with that philosophy, in my opinion.
When you're living just for money.
Just for the money part of it. And I think there's some people that are in these offices that are dealing with budgets for either healthcare, for education, that the bottom line is all they care about. The financial part of it is all they care about. And they're definitely not going to look for any other kind of platform or format that they can use to try to add value to the healthcare or the educational piece. So, again, it's one of those where we could sit here all day long and cry about it and yell and have a voice about it, but it comes to the people that are in charge of those areas to use our voice to help them understand they need to change.
Exactly. But ultimately, Del, the way to that is people coming together, us coming together, because once we come together and unite for a common goal, we, the people, can actually force that quicker than we think, because we're the ones electing the people. So if the issue is we're not united and working together, like you said, so then we have all this discord and and then we're not educated and we're voting against ourselves. Look at Trump, for example. He's a perfect example. He got elected and people were voting for him that were voting against themselves. Like, he's a one percenter, and then you see blue collar people voting for Trump that are talking about all these other like blue collar things. And I just think it's a big part of this is talking about how we do have the ability to change it, but it comes from working together. And yeah, it is a big obstacle. I just think it's really interesting how America basically is like a drug dealer of education and healthcare. I just think it's twisted if you think about it. Like, they're not giving what in our country, besides our freedom, there's a lot of great things about America, don't get me wrong, but what about the education and healthcare system is like freely, like, okay, it's helping the people, it's affordable, it's quality care. Yeah, we have quality healthcare, I guess that's one thing we could say, but like, what about the education system? Like, a bachelor's degree now is like a glorified high school diploma.
It is.
Because there's so many of them. And then it costs you 30 to 50 G's.
Well, and it's also getting to the point, like even in my old career as an LADC, when I came on, you could have an associate degree and be licensed in the state of Minnesota to do it.
Now you need.
I got in under the grandfather rule in the July in 2007, so I got grandfathered in to be able to do that. Now it's a bachelor's degree, and they're talking about in the next couple of years of making it a master's for no pay.
And then at the same time, you're talking about leverage. So let's compare it to like being a drug dealer. It makes sense, right? It sounds like a bizarre, but like imagine a drug dealer.
It's true.
Yeah, it's like a drug dealer that has power over his clients. Shout out Aaron for listening. I appreciate you. I see you in Dell's chat box there, Aaron. But a drug dealer, right? Say a drug dealer is manipulating their clientele because they're dependent on them. They have no other choice because they can't get from the source. They need something, and the source is the only source they can get it from. So America is one of the only sources we can get our education from. We only have X options. We have our college system. We don't have a ton of other options.
Right.
And then we only have our healthcare in America. So if you look at it, they're taking it and they're not making a bunch of alternative options and giving you free options or alternative options or creative options.
Right.
Now you're forced, like you just said, to go get that piece of paper that stamps you for approval for a position or gives you the ability to get that position. And now you're going to have 50 grand in debt, or if you go for a master's, 100 plus grand in debt, or if you go for a doctorate, I mean, you're talking up to $250,000 of debt. So it's like, I just don't understand why, if I want to better myself, it should cost me so much money.
I agree.
Why, if I want to be better, if I want to be more educated, more equipped? But really, the interesting dynamic to all this to me is the technology I have. So I'm a high school dropout. I went to college for one semester, and I got my GED by testing. So basically, I dropped out of high school, and I tested high enough at the college level that I was at college levels and everything to take college courses. It was called a GED award, blah, 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 ability to benefit something.
Right.
But so I went to college for one semester, but I haven't really gone to much college. The one thing I have had is the desire and urge to learn, and I have technology. So I can go to Google or YouTube, and I can almost learn anything. So that's the interesting concept about all of this, once we start diving deep, is information is readily available. So why, if it's out there and the information is there, do you have to charge me for the platform that it's shared with me on? So it just doesn't make sense to me. Why isn't it more freely given? Why? Because if I want to go sit in a room and have a structured platform and structured curriculum that you present that information to me on, that's already available in the world. I could go Google any topic and that information will come up and I can educate myself on it. But if I want to learn it in your environment and from your school on your curriculum structure and get a piece of paper that says it's from your elitist college, so I can get these better positions where I have a better chance at earning making a livable income,
right,
then I have to pay for it. I just don't see where in education America is bringing value to their people. I just don't. I just think our high school education is garbage, and I think that if you want to go get a decent education, you're better off just doing something and taking action and going out in the world. And I really think firsthand that I've learned better from traveling, living in different places, taking risks, and doing things, and pursuing my passions, and tasting different things, and then learning through experience, and doing, and testing, and measuring, and developing, and seeing what I like. Because we don't know we like something until we taste it. And I really don't think that you're going to taste too much sitting in a college classroom. I just think it's highly overpriced, highly overvalued, and it's highly under executing. So I think that in the future we'll have to find ways to bring human capital more intangible value freely. So what I mean by that is bringing you intellectual insight, bringing you tools, and bringing you comprehensive abilities to then move forward and be a valuable asset to our society, to our nation, and to your family or to your fellows. So I just think that industry shouldn't really have, and then for profit, and then to do that with healthcare is just, for someone to go bankrupt because they got sick is fucked up. If you lose your house, or you lose your car, or your family breaks up and you get divorced because you had a major medical issue and it bankrupted the family and it drove you to financial ruins, I mean, that is twisted. You should not go bankrupt in America over a medical issue.
Right.
That's immoral.
Well, and I looked at it here. When it comes to our healthcare, I wanted to get the correct numbers with that. United States in the world is ranked 30th overall. Okay.
Overall, as far as what?
Healthcare index.
So the healthcare index,
so
overall rating
is
America
30
is
in
30th
the world. In the world. So
Taiwan is even ahead of us.
Taiwan is number 1. South Korea number 2, France number 3, Japan number 4, and so on and so forth.
Australia's top 9.
Top 9. England is 13. You got New Zealand at 16. Israel 17. Germany 18.
Switzerland, Qatar,
Mexico
Estonia.
23.
Mexico's ahead of us. Sri Lanka's ahead of us. Portugal's ahead of us. Canada,
Qatar,
Singapore, Lithuania, Turkey, Ecuador, all ahead of the U.S.
Yeah.
And I guarantee if we pulled up the same statistic on who has a larger GDP and tax revenue,
Us.
I think the U.S. collected $3.33 trillion just from the IRS last year. $3.33 trillion. I think it's time that they can start affording $1,000 a month universal.
Instead of the fat cat just filling their pockets all the time.
They can start to send
making
Americans
budget cuts.
Democracy dollars, I call it. You can they can afford to send every single one of us $1,000 check a month, and guess what? That's you, because you're a shareholder in the nation's democracy. We are the most valuable asset. We're speaking to everyone in our audience, everyone, Dell is, I am. We are the most valuable asset to our nation, the humans, the human capital, our tools, our ability to work, produce, so forth. We are the assets of the democracy, and we need to start investing money in our human capital and bringing them direct payments. And I really think a universal basic income is a great example of that, because people will then start to be able to live within their means. They'll start to be able to pursue their passions or happiness, because they'll be less focused on just surviving in their hierarchy of needs. If you give them $1,000 a month, they'll worry less about food. They'll worry less about shelter, because they'll have their basic needs met, and now they can start to maybe think about, okay, maybe I can pursue my passions for profit instead of living my whole life consumed with how I can just get by, survive, and just barely make it. I just really think it's time to start investing in our humans.
Okay, so this now is the educational rankings.
Invest in our humans!
Yeah, off SATs. And their reading scores, math scores, science scores, broken down into a total score off the 3. So, with that, China's
number 1.
China, number 1. 556 in the reading score, 600 math, 575 science. I mean, they...
Number 1 in worldwide. China's number 1 in education.
So you got Hong Kong, you got Finland, Singapore, read them off.
Korea.
Japan, of course, is going to be up there.
Canada, let's do every other.
Yeah, Canada, Taiwan,
New Zealand,
Australia,
Netherlands,
Switzerland,
Liechtenstein,
Estonia. Yeah, I like the Liechtenstein. Germany,
Switzerland, Estonia,
Belgium, Macau, Iceland, Poland, Norway, United Kingdom, Denmark.
We're not here in the U.S.
Slovenia, Ireland, France.
This is the education scores.
United States.
So the United States is lacking.
I mean, we got literally, our score is 500 in reading, 487 in math, 502 in science, compared to China, who has 556 reading scores, 600 math, 575 in science. A little bit of a discrepancy there.
It's really interesting when you look into that our education and our healthcare are so inadequate, which is really a measure of your human capital. If you start to look at, if you don't have good health and you don't have intellectual capability, you know something's wrong. So now let's bring this full picture.
Yeah.
Manipulation of people that are uneducated, no one's more easily manipulated or swayed or pushed or controlled if they don't have health and they don't have education. If I'm someone that is fearful for my health, that it is not comprehensive or educated and able to comprehensively like assess problems and open-mindedly and empathetically look at things from multiple different angles, comprehension directly correlates with the ability to have an open-minded like ability to comprehend things. So with the more educated you get, the higher your chances at being able to comprehend complex problems and situations and not let people manipulate you. But ultimately, I think it's really interesting how people are really vulnerable if they don't have a quality education and they're concerned about their well-being for their health. Like, how can I, like, that's scary. You talk about easily manipulated. That's scary.
Yes. I mean, we're supposed to be living in a land of abundance, right? They talk about it all the time, the land of milk and honey. Supposed to be, you know, one of the richest or one of the most prosperous countries there in the world. But yet, you look at overall what it is. You've got your 1%ers, and then you got the rest of us.
So that's a great point.
Which most of us in that 99% are near or below poverty level.
So he just said it, like, we're supposed to be like this land of abundance with all, but look, we are. It's just a dollar figure. That's what's interesting. The GDP measures dollars. It doesn't measure happiness, health. It doesn't measure, like, what if there's a bunch of people killing themselves that are addicted to drugs and so forth, but our GDP made, like, it's a measure of money. It's not a measure it's not a measure of humans' happiness or health or well-being.
No, in this country, it's not about having humanistic values. It's about having monetary values in what can be made in the green stuff.
It's interesting.
If you look, I'll give an example, and this is my own problem. I'm a smoker, and
vapors.
Yeah, and so you don't think Philip Morris? You think Philip Morris is sitting there going, oh man, we really should do something different here because we're killing all these people and making millions off of them and billions. That's so wrong for us to do that. No, they don't give a fuck. To them, it's the bottom line, what they're making. They don't care that they're killing you with their cigarettes or getting people hooked on it. All they care about is getting the money that comes into their pocket. So we live in a world and in a country that a lot of times it comes down to, what the dollar brings to the table.
I think that's a great point, and that's why I want to start making income and bringing attention to the More Love movement, the Recovery Atheist movement, Trey Entertainment, and we're going to start bringing these brands forward. The Hostel du Nord, Jade Fountain, these businesses. So we're all going to start coming together,
Correct.
And then we are going to make money, but guess what? Our goal with the money is to talk and give voice to the people, bring you value. We're not just here on the back end focused on, like if someone came into me here tomorrow and talked to me and Dell and said, we'll give you guys a bunch of money, but we want you guys to do this. We're not going to do that. That's not what we're here for.
Or
we are
shut up. Don't say anymore.
No.
Don't be controversial or don't call people out. Don't do it anymore. Here's your check.
That's not what we're doing.
No.
We have it set up so that we have things taken care of now in place where we don't have to do that. We don't have to work with just anyone.
We can have our own content.
We are bringing voice to doing good with these platforms of business. So once we have the greenbacks that he's talking about, it's just going to grow and expand. You're going to start to see a lot more people jumping on board to do good because guess what? Our voice will get louder when we have the greenbacks.
Right.
When you have the greenbacks backing us up, all of a sudden, what we're doing is going to have to push these other businesses in the area to start doing good in the community because we're out here speaking on a daily basis, consistently, regularly, sharing value freely. We're talking about ways that we can come together as a community, be united, be open-minded, humble, sharing stories authentically in a vulnerable fashion, trying to develop community, being vulnerable, being authentic, and bringing value to other humans freely, and sharing the fact that we are capable as humans, we are powerful, and doing all this is what we're talking about on a daily basis. Dell does this, and we do this. So this is exactly why, because in order to smother the hate and the bad, you have to start smothering it with good, but we also will need money to do that, but ultimately, we're doing it right now, and you can start doing it with very little money.
And we're making clean money. We're not making blood money. We're not doing it we're doing it to bring something good to the world. The thing is we're not going to sell out.
No, we're not
Okay.
just going to work with anyone just to work with them.
We have a voice and we have an agenda of our own that we're looking to do. And no one is going to shut us up and no one is going to make us sell out to the point of what we believe in and what we want to share. It is our content, it is free speech and our content to be able to share. And we're doing that for you out there, Podcast Nation, so you can have a voice too and come on here and feel like you have a place to go and have that voice.
And you can start seeing that it is about not just money. It's about bringing value to other people. And you have value, we have value, everyone has value. So that's what this is all about. He just talked about it. The majority of people in businesses and politics are using money and manipulation of certain things, whether it's healthcare, education, or whatever, to use the money to push forward their agendas.
Right.
Our agenda is simply to do good, to unite, to bring people together, to share our stories, and to have them share theirs, and then also push businesses to have to do the same. Because if the business is just manipulating people for money, we're going to start pushing them into enforcing the dialogue of how they are investing in the people that are giving them money. How is a business that's making millions of dollars off of people in America, how are they bringing value back to you? How are they showing you any kind of intellectual insight, any kind of intellectual value, showing you that you are capable, empowering you, giving you some kind of... That's what I'm talking about. Like, there's so many businesses that are just collecting the money on the back end, but on the front end, they're not looking at how they can help you, bring you something.
And they might have a nice little charity that they started on the side to
That's so they can avoid taxes.
Yeah, to make it look like they're being so nice and helping. No, it's a tax. It's a tax break for them that way. What are they doing truly in the community? What are they really truly doing to help people? It's not just some charity that they go to a charity banquet once a year to try to raise money or so they can have a big fat check that has no impact on their bottom line whatsoever. Oh, here's $500,000, from this $10 billion company. So yeah, just look at what they're doing. What are they bringing to the table?
The people you're giving your money.
Yeah, because, those are going to be the people, especially those companies, those bigger corporations that you're giving money to, they're going to be the ones that are going to have power in what happens in our policies and our world and what we live in and what we face in reality every day. So we need to be careful to, where we're putting our money, what we're doing with it. Obviously, we can't always be perfect and know, but for the most part, there's lots of great corporations out there that are doing good things, but there's a lot of them that are, as I call it, wolves in sheep clothing.
Yeah, we were talking about that. But he's just right. And Dell's talked about this in other episodes. He's talked about auditing our trust, auditing where we're putting our trust, auditing where we're putting our values, and he's talked about that. So I think it's a great point, is just to start auditing where we're spending our money and looking at what kind of value they're giving us freely on the front end.
Right.
Because ultimately, Dell just hit it on the head. The businesses that have all the money have the... Like, if me and Dell can do this right here, if we can bring you this, imagine a company that's making millions of dollars. They should be able to do it at scale.
Yeah.
If we can, they can. So I just think it's a great topic, and it brings light to the fact that once you are making a bunch of money out for people, you have somewhat of an obligation to start bringing them value freely.
Right.
And that's exactly why we do what we do, is I want to start bringing value freely. I want to start pushing community development and unity. And by doing this, we are forcing other people to start, they're going to start seeing us and hearing us, and they're going to have to start doing the same. Otherwise, it makes, because it's like shining a mirror on people. It's like, okay, now this company over here that's getting millions of dollars from these people and manipulating the consumer's trends, they have to start bringing you value. So it's really, really cool.
Right on, brother. I completely agree. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to shut it down right now. It was great seeing everybody out there today. I hope you enjoyed the content that we put out today. I'm going to be getting out of here in the next few minutes here, and I will not be back on until Tuesday night, but I'm sure JR will be doing his thing, as he always does.
Always.
If you like my content, go ahead and check me out at the Recovery Atheist on YouTube. I'm also on Instagram and Twitter with the same name. Email the recoveryatheist@gmail.com, and on Facebook, Del Bacon or the Recovery Atheist as well. We'll show it up. Thanks again for watching me, and I'll let JR finish her out.
Thanks again, folks, for tuning in. Your attention is our oxygen here at Weirman Media. We are focused on bringing you fast, fluid, flexible content creation for the modern day that helps build community, unity, and overall bring people forward via content creation and storytelling in a creative way in a modern day culture relevant fashion. So that's what this is all about. It's about storytelling, it's about unity, community development, and doing so in a culture relevant modern day fashion using the tools of technology that we have at our resources to do so.
Correct.
So ultimately that's what we're here for. We appreciate you and we value you once again here at We Are in Media.
Peace.
Peace.